Welcome to the world of science function. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. The stars stretched like a vast tapestry across the infinite blackness of space. Earth's gleaming blue and green beauty was a mere memory now, exiled to the periphery of galactic society. Once a proud member of the Galactic Council, humanity had faced a crushing blow 5 decades ago when their voice was silenced, and their planet was ejected from the council chambers. The reasons cited were vague: reckless ambition, cultural incompatibility, and, perhaps most galling of all, the charge of being insufficiently evolved. It had been a humiliation so profound that it echoed across generations, etching itself into the psyche of every Earth-born citizen. Captain Elise Corrigan paced the deck of the UNS Resurgence, her boots clicking against the polished floor as she glared at the holographic display of the latest council broadcast. The shimmering projection showcased a pompous Avran diplomat delivering a speech about intergalactic harmony. The Avrans, a race of silver-skinned bureaucrats with an uncanny knack for delivering condescension disguised as diplomacy, had spearheaded Earth's exile. Elise clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. "Intergalactic harmony," she muttered, her voice dripping with venom. What a load of cosmic bull. Beside her, Dr. Marcus Bell, a brilliant but perpetually disheveled astrophysicist, snorted as he adjusted his glasses. "They're just upset we wouldn't hand over our terraforming tech for free. 50 years later, and they're still holding a grudge." "Let them," Elise replied sharply. "We're done playing by their rules." The Resurgence was a marvel of human ingenuity, the product of decades of work and determination. When Earth was cast out, humanity had not curled into itself in despair. Instead, it had doubled down, pouring its resources into innovation and self-reliance. The Resurgence represented the pinnacle of those efforts, a hybrid of military vessel and exploratory craft, armed with advanced weaponry and equipped with the latest in human-engineered quantum drives. It was a symbol of defiance and hope. Elise turned to the rest of her crew, who were gathered on the bridge. There was Sergeant Jax Torrey, a towering soldier with a cybernetic arm and a penchant for cracking inappropriate jokes. Beside him sat Ensign Lana Adebayo, a navigation prodigy with an encyclopedic knowledge of stellar cartography. And finally, in the corner, fiddling with a tangle of wires, was the enigmatic AI specialist, Dr. Eva Lynn. Each of them represented the best humanity had to offer, and each of them had a personal stake in the mission. "What's the update on the Proxima station?" Elise asked, addressing Lana. Lana tapped a few buttons on her console, bringing up a holographic map of their destination. "We're about 30 minutes out. Scans show minimal activity, just a few automated defense drones. Nothing we can't handle." "Good," Elise said. "Let's make this quick. The sooner we secure that prototype, the better." The prototype was a rumored piece of experimental technology that had been developed in secret by the Avrans. Details were scarce, but intelligence suggested it was a game-changer, a device capable of harnessing dark energy on a scale that could rival entire fleets. If humanity could reverse-engineer it, it might finally level the playing field. As the Resurgence approached Proxima Station, Elise couldn't shake the feeling of unease. The Avrans were meticulous about their security, and the fact that the station appeared to be lightly guarded felt wrong. Still, they had come too far to turn back now. "Prepare for docking," Elise ordered, her voice steady despite the knot of tension in her stomach. "Jax, you're leading the boarding team. Lana, stay here and keep the ship ready for a quick getaway. Marcus and Eva, you're with me." "Aye, Captain," Jax said, flashing a grin as he hefted his plasma rifle. "Time to see if these Avran tin cans bleed." The Resurgence docked smoothly, its magnetic clamps securing it to the station's outer hull. The boarding team moved swiftly, their movements precise and rehearsed. Elise's pulse quickened as the airlock cycled open, revealing the dimly lit interior of the station. The air was stale, and the faint hum of machinery filled the silence. "Stay sharp," Elise whispered, her hand resting on the hilt of her energy blade. "We don't know what we're walking into." The team advanced cautiously, their footsteps muffled by the thick carpeting that lined the station's corridors. It was eerily quiet, and Elise couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. They reached the control room without incident, and Marcus immediately set to work hacking into the station's mainframe. "This is too easy," Jax muttered, his cybernetic fingers twitching on the trigger of his rifle. "Where's the resistance?" As if in response, an alarm blared, and the corridor outside the control room was suddenly flooded with light. The hiss of pneumatic doors opening was followed by the sound of heavy footsteps. A squad of Avran combat drones, sleek, humanoid machines armed with plasma rifles, marched into view, their movements unnervingly precise. "We've got company," Jax shouted, raising his weapon. The control room erupted into chaos as the team engaged the drones. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air, and Elisa's blade hummed as she sliced through the nearest attacker. Jax's cybernetic arm proved invaluable as he used it to shield himself from incoming fire while returning shots with deadly accuracy. Eva deployed a series of EMP grenades, temporarily disabling several drones and buying them precious seconds. "Marcus, how's that hack coming?" Elise called out, deflecting a plasma bolt with her blade. "Almost there," Marcus replied, his fingers flying across the console. "Just keep them off me for another minute." The drones pressed their attack, their movements coordinated and relentless. Despite their best efforts, the team was slowly being pushed back. Just as Elise began to fear they wouldn't make it, Marcus let out a triumphant shout. "Got it," he exclaimed. "I've got the data, and I've disabled the station's defense systems. We're good to go. Fall back to the ship," Elise ordered, covering Marcus as he disengaged from the console. "Lana, prep the engines. We're leaving." The team fought their way back to the airlock, the drones in hot pursuit. By the time they reached the resurgence, Elisa's muscles ached, and her heart was pounding. They barely managed to seal the airlock before the drones reached it. "Punch it, Lana!" Elise shouted as the team collapsed into their seats. The resurgence's engines roared to life, and the ship shot away from the station, narrowly avoiding a barrage of plasma fire. As the station receded into the distance, Elise allowed herself a moment of relief. They had the prototype schematics, and they had survived. But as she looked around at her exhausted crew, she knew their troubles were far from over. The resurgence drifted through the vast expanse of space, its quantum drives cooling after the daring escape. The crew gathered in the ship's common area, their faces a mixture of exhaustion and determination. The holographic display on the central table flickered to life, projecting the schematics Marcus had extracted from Proxima Station. The glowing lines and annotations revealed the Avran's dark energy device in intricate detail, its potential both awe-inspiring and terrifying. "This is it," Marcus said, his voice tinged with excitement and trepidation. "This technology could change everything. If we can figure out how to replicate it, the Council won't be able to ignore us anymore. And if they do, we'll make sure they regret it," Jax added, cracking his knuckles. "About time humanity stopped playing second fiddle." Elise nodded, though her mind was racing with concerns. The Council wouldn't take kindly to humans stealing their prized technology. If the Avrans realized what had been taken, retaliation would be swift and unforgiving. For now, they had to focus on understanding the schematics and keeping their activities under the radar. "Eva, how soon can you start analyzing this?" Elise asked. Eva, who had been studying the projection with a quiet intensity, straightened. "I can start immediately, but I'll need access to the ship's advanced AI core. It'll speed up the process significantly." "Do it," Elise said. "The sooner we understand what we're dealing with, the better." Eva nodded and disappeared into the ship's lower levels, where the AI core was housed. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew set about fortifying their defenses and preparing for the inevitable fallout. Jax and Lana worked together to recalibrate the resurgence's shields, while Marcus pored over the schematics, muttering to himself as he tried to make sense of the alien technology. The tension on the ship was palpable, each crew member acutely aware of the stakes. It was in this charged atmosphere that the first sign of trouble appeared. The ship's proximity alarms blared, jolting the crew into action. "What is it?" Elise demanded, rushing to the bridge. Lana's hands flew over the controls, her brow furrowed in concentration. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. They're Avran patrol craft. The holographic display shifted to show the incoming vessels, their sleek, silver forms glinting ominously against the backdrop of space. There were 3 of them, each bristling with weapons. They must have realized we took the schematics, Jax said grimly, gripping his rifle. How did they find us so quickly? Marcus asked, his voice tinged with panic. Doesn't matter, Elise said, her voice cutting through the chaos. Lana, plot a course to the nearest asteroid field. We'll use it to lose them. On it, Lana replied, her fingers dancing across the console. The Resurgence surged forward, its engines roaring as it raced toward the asteroid field. The Avran ships gave chase, their weapons firing bursts of energy that narrowly missed the fleeing vessel. Elise gripped the armrests of her chair, her eyes fixed on the display as Lana expertly maneuvered the ship through the dense field of rocks and debris. They're gaining on us, Lana said, her voice tense. Jax, get to the turret, Elise ordered. Buy us some time. Jax didn't need to be told twice. He sprinted to the turret controls, his cybernetic arm whirring as he gripped the controls and unleashed a barrage of fire at the pursuing ships. One of the Avran craft took a direct hit, its shields flaring before it veered off course. The other 2 pressed on, undeterred. Eva, we could use some of that AI magic right about now, Elise said over the comms. I'm working on it, Eva's voice crackled in response. The AI core's predictive algorithms are calculating optimal escape vectors. Just hold them off a little longer. The Resurgence weaved through the asteroid field, dodging both natural obstacles and enemy fire. Despite their best efforts, the Avran ships continued to close the distance. One of them fired a concentrated energy beam that grazed the Resurgence's hull, sending a shudder through the ship. Hull integrity at 70%, Lana reported, her voice steady despite the chaos. We're not going down without a fight, Elise said, her jaw set in determination. Marcus, any bright ideas? Marcus hesitated, then his eyes lit up. The schematics, the device has an energy dispersal function. If we can rig something similar, we might be able to create a temporary EMP to disable their ships. Can you do it? Elise asked. I'll need Eva's help, Marcus said. And it'll be risky. The EMP could knock out our systems too. Do it, Elise said without hesitation. We'll deal with the fallout later. Marcus and Eva worked feverishly, their hands moving with practiced precision as they modified the ship's energy core to generate the EMP. All the while, Jax continued to fire at the pursuing ships, buying them precious seconds. EMP ready in 30 seconds, Eva announced. Make it quick, Elise said, glancing at the display. The Avran ships were almost within striking distance. Lana, prepare to power down all non-essential systems. We'll need to conserve energy once the EMP goes off. Understood, Lana said, her fingers poised over the controls. The countdown to the EMP felt agonizingly slow, each second stretching into an eternity. Finally, Eva's voice came over the comms. EMP ready. Initiating now. The Resurgence's systems surged with energy, and a pulse of electromagnetic force rippled outward, enveloping the asteroid field. The pursuing ships were caught in the blast, their engines sputtering as they lost power. The Resurgence itself went dark, its systems shutting down to prevent a catastrophic overload. For a moment, there was silence. Then, one by one, the Resurgence's systems began to reboot, the ship's emergency protocols kicking in. Elise let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Status, she asked. The Avran ships are disabled, Lana reported, relief evident in her voice. We're clear. Good work, everyone, Elise said, her voice firm but tinged with gratitude. Let's not stick around to see if they recover. Plot a course to the nearest safe harbor. We've got work to do. As the Resurgence limped away from the asteroid field, the crew allowed themselves a moment of relief. They had survived another close call, but they knew the fight was far from over. The Avrans wouldn't stop, and neither would humanity. The stakes were too high, and the cost of failure too great. The resurgence emerged from hyperspace near a barren, uncharted planet surrounded by a thick asteroid belt. It was the kind of place that didn't show up on maps, perfect for lying low while they assessed the damage and devised their next move. The crew worked tirelessly to repair the ship, each of them driven by the unspoken understanding that the fight was far from over. Elise stood in the command center, staring at the holographic projection of the schematics. The dark energy device was more than a weapon, it was a statement. If they could build their own version, humanity wouldn't just be surviving on the fringes, they'd be asserting their place among the stars. "Captain, we've got something on long-range sensors," Lana said, her voice tinged with unease. Elise turned to the navigation console. "What is it?" "It's big," Lana replied. "Too big to be a patrol craft. I think it's an Avran dreadnought." The words sent a chill through the room. A dreadnought was more than just a warship, it was a mobile fortress, capable of overwhelming entire fleets. If it had tracked them here, their chances of survival were slim. "How the hell did they find us?" Jax growled, slamming a fist on the console. "We must have left a trail when we jumped," Eva said, her tone grim. "Their long-range scanners are more advanced than ours. They're probably tracing residual quantum signatures." Elisa's mind raced. They couldn't outrun a dreadnought, and they certainly couldn't face it head-on. That left one option, they'd have to outthink it. "Lana, bring up a map of the asteroid belt," Elise ordered. "If we're going to survive this, we need to use the terrain to our advantage." Lana nodded and projected a detailed map of the surrounding area. The asteroid belt was dense, with pockets of high-density fields that could provide cover. But it was also treacherous, with debris moving at lethal speeds. "If we lure them into the belt, we can use the asteroids to shield ourselves," Elise said, formulating a plan. "We'll need to be precise, though. One wrong move, and we're space dust." "Sounds like my kind of fight," Jax said, a fierce grin spreading across his face. "Let's give them hell." The crew sprang into action, each of them falling into their roles with practiced efficiency. Lana plotted a course through the asteroid belt, identifying pockets where they could hide or ambush. Marcus and Eva worked on modifying the ship's sensors to mask their quantum signatures, making it harder for the dreadnought to track them. As the resurgence entered the asteroid belt, the crew felt the tension ratchet up. The ship's hull creaked under the strain of maneuvering through the dense field, and the slightest miscalculation could be catastrophic. Elise gripped the armrests of her chair, her eyes fixed on the display. "Dreadnought entering the belt," Lana reported. "They're moving slowly, trying to avoid the debris." "Good," Elise said. "That'll give us time to set up the trap." The resurgence slipped into a dense cluster of asteroids, its engines humming softly as Lana expertly guided it into position. Jax manned the turrets, his finger hovering over the trigger. The plan was simple: draw the dreadnought deeper into the field, then use the asteroids to inflict as much damage as possible. "They've spotted us," Lana said. "They're moving in." The dreadnought's massive silhouette loomed on the display, its weapons bristling with energy. It fired a volley of plasma bolts, but the resurgence darted out of the way, the shots colliding with nearby asteroids and sending shards of rock flying. "Jax, fire at those smaller rocks," Elise ordered. "Let's make this field even more chaotic." Jax complied, his turret blasting apart asteroids in the dreadnought's path. The resulting debris forced the massive ship to slow even further, its shields flaring as it absorbed impacts. "They're deploying drones," Lana warned. "A lot of them." "Marcus, Eva, can you disrupt their control signals?" Elise asked. "Working on it," Eva said, her fingers flying across the console. "If we can overload their command frequencies, we might be able to turn some of the drones against them." The drones swarmed toward the resurgence, their sleek forms weaving through the asteroid field with deadly precision. Jax fired relentlessly, taking out as many as he could, but the sheer number was overwhelming. "We need that signal disruption now," Elise shouted. "Almost there," Eva said, her voice tight with concentration. Got it. Sending the pulse now. A burst of energy rippled from the resurgence, and several of the drones suddenly veered off course, their movements erratic. A handful turned on the dreadnought, firing at its shields and causing minor damage. Nice work, Elise said. Keep it up. The resurgence continued to weave through the asteroid field, using the terrain to its advantage. The dreadnought's size worked against it, its movements sluggish and constrained. Still, its firepower was formidable, and each near miss sent a fresh wave of anxiety through the crew. Captain, their main cannon is charging, Lana said, her voice tinged with urgency. If they hit us with that, we're done. Not if we hit them first, Elise said, a plan forming in her mind. Lana, plot a course to that cluster of high-density asteroids. Jax, prepare a concentrated strike. We're going to bring the rocks down on their heads. The resurgence darted toward the cluster, the dreadnought's cannon glowing ominously as it charged. Jax targeted the largest asteroids, his turret firing precise bursts that shattered them into massive chunks. The debris rained down on the dreadnought, its shields flaring brightly as they struggled to hold. Their shields are failing, Lana reported. But so is ours. One more push, Elise said. Jax, hit their engines. Let's see how they like being stranded. Jax's turret fired a barrage of shots at the dreadnought's rear, the impacts causing a series of explosions that rippled across its hull. The massive ship shuddered, its engines flickering before going dark. They're disabled, Lana said, her voice filled with relief. Good, Elise said. Now let's get out of here before reinforcements show up. The resurgence powered away from the asteroid belt, its crew exhausted but victorious. They had outmaneuvered a dreadnought and lived to tell the tale, but the battle had taken its toll. As the ship limped toward safety, Elise couldn't help but think about the fight still to come. The Avrans wouldn't stop, and neither would humanity. The stakes had never been higher, and failure was not an option. The resurgence drifted into the orbit of a remote, uninhabited moon. The ship's exterior bore the scars of its recent battle, and inside, the crew worked tirelessly to repair the damage. Despite their exhaustion, there was a sense of quiet determination among them. They had survived the encounter with the dreadnought, but Elise knew their fight was far from over. In the dimly lit command center, Eva sat at her console, her fingers dancing across the keyboard as she analyzed the schematics. The rest of the crew gathered around, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the holographic display. The dark energy device's potential was undeniable, but the complexity of its design presented a daunting challenge. This isn't just a weapon, Eva said, her voice filled with a mix of awe and trepidation. It's a power source, a propulsion system, and a shielding mechanism all rolled into one. If we can figure out how to replicate this, it could revolutionize everything. How long will it take? Elise asked, her tone measured but urgent. Weeks, maybe months, Eva replied. But there's a shortcut. What kind of shortcut? Jax asked, raising an eyebrow. Eva hesitated, then brought up a new set of data. The schematics include a list of component suppliers. One of them is a manufacturing facility on Tyro 7. If we can infiltrate it, we might be able to acquire the parts we need. The room fell silent as the crew absorbed the implications. Tyro 7 was deep within Avran-controlled territory, and infiltrating a facility there would be an incredibly risky endeavor. But it was also their best chance to gain the upper hand. What's the security like? Elise asked. High, Eva admitted. But not impenetrable. If we time it right, we can slip in during a scheduled supply transfer. We'll need to move fast and keep a low profile. Sounds like a suicide mission, Marcus muttered, but there was no mistaking the determination in his eyes. It's our only shot, Elise said firmly. We've come too far to back down now. Lana, plot a course for Tyro 7. Eva, start working on a plan for the infiltration. Jax, get the weapons ready. We're going to need them. The crew sprang into action, each of them driven by the unspoken understanding that failure was not an option. As the resurgence powered up its engines and set a course for Tyro 7, Elise felt a surge of determination. They had faced impossible odds before and survived. They would do it again. The journey to Tyro 7 was tense, with every passing hour bringing them closer to enemy territory. The crew prepared for the mission with meticulous care, rehearsing the infiltration plan and double-checking their equipment. By the time the resurgence entered the Tyros system, they were as ready as they could be. The planet loomed ahead, its surface dotted with sprawling industrial complexes. The manufacturing facility was located on the far side, shielded by a dense network of orbital defenses. The resurgence slipped into position, using its advanced stealth systems to avoid detection. "We're in position," Lana reported. "The supply transfer is happening in 20 minutes. "All right, people," Elise said, her voice steady. "This is it. Stick to the plan, and we'll get through this." The infiltration team consisted of Elise, Jax, and Eva. They boarded a small shuttle equipped with cloaking technology, leaving Marcus and Lana to monitor from the resurgence. As the shuttle descended toward the facility, Elise's heart pounded in her chest. Every instinct told her this was a bad idea, but she pushed the fear aside. There was no room for doubt now. The shuttle touched down in a secluded area near the facility, its cloaking field shimmering faintly as the team disembarked. They moved quickly, using the shadows to avoid detection. Eva's hacking skills proved invaluable as she bypassed security systems and unlocked doors with practiced ease. "We're in," Eva whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the facility's machinery. "The main production line is down this corridor." The team advanced cautiously, their movements synchronized and silent. The facility was a labyrinth of conveyor belts, robotic arms, and glowing consoles. It was a testament to Avern efficiency, but it also made their task all the more difficult. "There," Eva said, pointing to a row of crates marked with the Avern symbol for high-priority materials. "Those are the components we need." Jax moved to the crates, his cybernetic arm making quick work of the locks. He began loading the parts into a portable container, his movements swift and precise. Elise kept watch, her energy blade at the ready. "We've got company," Elise said suddenly, her sharp eyes catching movement in the shadows. A squad of Avern guards was approaching, their weapons drawn. "Stay calm," Elise said, positioning herself between the guards and her team. "Jax, finish loading. Eva, get us an exit." The guards advanced, their silver armor glinting in the dim light. Elise activated her blade, its hum cutting through the tense silence. The first guard lunged at her, but she sidestepped the attack and struck with precision, her blade slicing through his armor. Jax joined the fray, his rifle blazing as he took down 2 more guards. "Exit secured," Eva shouted. "Let's go." The team retreated, fighting their way back to the shuttle. More guards poured into the corridor, but the team held their ground, their movements coordinated and relentless. By the time they reached the shuttle, Elise's arms ached, and her breath came in ragged gasps. "Punch it, Eva!" Elise shouted as they boarded the shuttle. The engines roared to life, and the shuttle shot into the sky, its cloaking field activating just in time to evade a barrage of plasma fire. The resurgence was waiting for them in orbit, its hangar bay open and ready. As the shuttle docked, the crew let out a collective sigh of relief. They had the components, and they were still alive. But the victory was bittersweet. The Avrans would know they had been compromised, and retaliation was inevitable. "We did it," Jax said, a triumphant grin on his face. "Now let's see what this baby can do." "Not yet," Elise said, her tone serious. "We need to move fast. The Avrans won't let this slide. Marcus, start working on integrating the components. Eva, keep monitoring for any incoming threats. Lana, get us out of this system." The crew sprang into action, their exhaustion forgotten in the face of the new challenge. As the resurgence powered up its engines and jumped to hyperspace, Elise allowed herself a moment to reflect. They had risked everything and come out on top, but the road ahead was still perilous. In the quiet of the command center, Elise stared at the schematics one more time. Humanity had been pushed to the brink, but they weren't broken. They were fighters, innovators, survivors. And now, with the dark energy device within reach, they were on the cusp of something extraordinary. The Avrans had underestimated them once. They wouldn't make that mistake again.